In order to achieve material success in our lay life, we must have aims or targets to achieve, and we must use proper methods, techniques to achieve those targets. Even though we can become materially successful in our life through aims, through efforts to achieve our material aims or targets, having any aim or target is an impediment in our spiritual life in order to realize the final bliss of life for nirvana by the Buddha through enlightenment. Aims are impediments or obstacles to enlightenment. Because the nirvana realized by enlightenment is called Tanhakaya in Pali, the Buddha's language, meaning cessation of all desires from the very root of desires. Tanha is the root of all desires, both positive, negative and neutral. As long as we have aims and desires, as I mentioned earlier, we cannot get enlightened. The fine example is the example of the Buddha. For nearly 7 years, he made efforts, terrible efforts, suffering a lot, to achieve enlightenment, to realize nirvana. But he was not successful. That is why he gave up that method or technique of efforts. It is only an effortless, aimless mind that can get enlightened. No effort, no aim means there is no desire. There is no self-center. Whenever you make an effort to achieve something, there is a self-center on which the desire or the aim is based. And the aim, the mental aim, the mental idea that you want to materialize is only an illusion, only a mental image related to the unborn future. The aim or the target is not here and now, but in the future ahead. And that future, though it appears reality to you, appears real to you, it is actually not real. It is only an imagination, only an idea, only a mental target. Whenever you have an aim or a target, your mind is occupied by a desire. While having such a desire, you can never realize the desireless state of mind called nirvana, which is referred to by the Buddha as tanhakaya, meaning cessation of all desires. Nirvana is not an idea. Ideas are mental images. Nirvana is a reality, the ultimate reality within us, not anywhere else. It is in us. It is referred to by the Buddha as cessation of suffering, as translated into English. The original words of the Buddha are dukkha nirodha. Dukkha is translated in English as suffering, though suffering is not the complete meaning of the word dukkha. It has a wider meaning, but the main meaning is suffering, a mental state. Buddha realized that all mental sufferings are based or caused by our desire. That we refer to the basic form of desire as tanha, which comes from the Sanskrit word trishna, meaning thirst. But the Buddha used it as mental thirst for happiness, for pleasure, or thirst for anything, the desire for anything. And in his first sermon, he described three aspects of tanha, desire. In his own words, they are referred to as kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. Kama tanha means thirst for sensory pleasures. We can be happy, that is the main aim of satisfying sensory needs. Achieving sensory pleasures means we can be happy only when we can enjoy the worldly items through our sensory organs. By seeing nice things, by listening to nice things, by smelling nice things, by tasting nice things, by touching nice things, and by thinking of nice things. The mind is also a sensory organ. But the opposite of sensory need is the desirelessness, tanhakaya. And this kama tanha, the desire for sensory pleasures, has a negative and a positive aspect. Positive aspect means we have taste of what we desire. For example, you may like tea sweet with sugar, or you may like it with milk, or you may like it with bitter without milk, or much more bitter without even sugar. You may like it hot, or you may like it warm, or you may like it cool. They are different tastes. Therefore, the aim of sensory pleasures of different people are different. Different aims. And when we are aiming at sensory pleasure, we aim at the manifestation of our taste, the way we like it. And that is referred to by the Buddha as bhava tanha. Bhava is to happen, to manifest it. taking place. And it means that we do not like the opposite of it, not having the type we like, or getting even the opposite of what we like. And that is called not happening, means vibhava tanha, the desire for not happening. All those are aims. Kama tanha is, we are basically aiming at pleasures and happiness. Bhava tanha means we aim at the type of pleasure that we like. Vibhava tanha, we aim at not having things that we dislike. That means we have a desire to have what we like, and we have a desire not to have what we dislike. And the basic aim of both the positive and this negative desire is happiness. Happiness means happiness dependent on sensory pleasures. The bliss, the perfect bliss, the ultimate bliss called nirvana, is having no object of pleasure. As long as there is an object, it becomes an impediment to enlightenment. A mind without a target, a mind without an object, a mind without an aim can achieve or realize enlightenment and realize the supreme bliss of nirvana. That means the mind that is not thinking, free of thinking, free of feeling, and that is an empty mind. That's why Buddha referred to the supreme bliss of nirvana as sunyata, meaning void or emptiness. Emptiness means the mind empty of its content. Our mind contains thoughts and feelings. Enlightenment means, according to Buddha's first paean of joy, cessation or the extinction of all thoughts and feelings, mental images. Buddha referred to this in his first paean of joy as visankara gatam citta. Formation of mental images ceased, came to an end, got extinct. That means an empty mind. Empty mind without any burden. An empty mind without any object. Empty means no object, no item. It's emptiness, void. And it is void not only of thought forms, thoughts, images, but also feelings, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. That means nirvana is not a thing that we enjoy through our sense organs. It is beyond our sensory pleasures. There is nothing to enjoy in nirvana. That means, in fact, there is no target to reach in nirvana, no aim to reach in nirvana. It is renunciation of all things that we attach to. Nirvana means non-attachment. That is why I said the path to nirvana runs in the opposite direction, opposite to the way that we run in our lay life for material success, for material achievement. For material success, we have to gather things that we require, what we need, what we want, collecting things that we need, acquiring things what we need. But the path to nirvana is giving up things, donating, dana. Dana means renouncing. For example, in order to achieve the supreme bliss of enlightenment, Buddha renounced all the worldly pleasures of his royal life. He renounced the palace. He renounced the kingship. He renounced all the sensory pleasures that he was used to in his royal palace, in his royal life. And he became an ascetic, a mendicant. And he went to the jungle and lived with the nature like animals, expecting nothing. But unfortunately, for nearly 7 years, he had a target, an aim to achieve the state that was described by Indian teachers of the time as nirvana in Sanskrit. But through the method shown by the Indian spiritual teachers, he could not achieve that target of enlightenment. And finally realized enlightenment is possible without any target. But he found the experiences of meditation he learned under the Indian sages, Indian teachers, became very useful. And he said, the enlightenment or the supreme bliss of enlightenment can be achieved step by step by following the Indian methods of meditation. During his time, there were 4 trances of meditation called dhyana, samapatti in Pali. First, second, third, and fourth. Patama dhyana, dutiya dhyana, tatiya dhyana, chaturtha dhyana. They are called mundane trances. And there are 4 supramundane trances, formless, no form in it. They are called Akasaranchayatane, Vinyananchayatane, Akincanyayatane, Nevasanya, Nasanyayatane. They are the 8 trances that the Buddha, before his enlightenment, that he learned under the Indian spiritual teachers. But he couldn't achieve enlightenment. Then he discovered another trance called Sanya Vedaita Nirodha. Neva Sanya, Na Sanya, that state of mind is a state of mind where you can show that there are items or no items held by the mind, or there is nothing or there is something that the mind is conscious of. Consciousness was there, but the mind is so subtle, there is no possibility of identifying what one is conscious of at this last trance called Sanya, Neva Sanya, Na Sanyayatana. Then there is another trance that you get in the Buddhist canon, the Tripitaka, in the Samyutta Nikaya. it comes in the Moggallana Samyukta of Samyukta Nikaya. In the Tripitaka of Buddha Jayanti, it comes in the volume 4, page 500. In that, every time that Reverend Moggallana, the second chief disciple of the Buddha, get absorbed in a trance, he couldn't continue in the same trance, he came back to the former level. And in such a situation, it mentions that the Buddha came by miracle power to him and re-established him in the proper trance. It happens not only for the 8 trances that I referred to, but also in another trance that Reverend Moggallana realized at the end of Neva-sanya Na-sanyayatana. He refers to it as Animitta Samadhi. Animitta means no object, no aim. The mind has no aim, no target. The mind is not conscious of anything. The mind is empty without any aim, without any idea. That is what is meant by Animitta Samadhi. But even in that trance, he came back to Neva-sanya Na-sanyayatana. He became conscious of. There is something in the mind which he cannot identify. Then he said the Buddha came to him by miracle power and re-established him in that trance of voidness, emptiness, aimless trance, without any aim. And that is the stepping stone to the trance of Nirvana, referred to by the Buddha as Sanya Vedaita Nirodha. Sanya means electrical signals given by sense organs. Whenever we are alive, our sense organs are working. Even the sense organs of enlightened ones are working. That is life. And their duty is to send signals. When I see something, I send a signal of what it sees to the mind. When the ear hears something, the ear sends a signal to the mind. And those natural activities happen even in the physical body of an enlightened one. And that means even an enlightened one becomes aware of sensory signals. But enlightenment is possible only when that awareness also ceases to take place. Extinction of awareness, extinction of consciousness, in other words. Not the extinction of being conscious of, extinction of being conscious of. Consciousness is there, being conscious of. And that is called Sanya Vedaita Nirodha. Nirodha means extinction. Sanya Vedaita means being conscious of sensory signals. And that is the final stage of trances. That is the 10th. Indian sages taught Buddha before enlightenment 8 trances. And there is another trance in between. The final trance Buddha realized as Sanya Vedaita Nirodha, that is referred to in Moggallana Samyutta mentioned earlier as Animitta Samadhi. And beyond that is a state beyond the aimless mind. When we have no aim means no desire. Desireless mind is referred to as aimless mind. And maintaining a aimless or desireless mind is the stepping stone to nirvana, which means the extinction of all desires. Therefore, one can achieve or one can realize the supreme bliss of nirvana only with the extinction of all aims. Any aim is an idea. Any aim is not related to the present moment, the living present moment, but related to the unborn future. We aim or as a target something to happen, something to be achieved in the unborn future. Future is no more at the moment. It is a living moment, it is a living present. That means all aims are illusions. All aims are mental images. As long as there are mental images, the mind is occupied. All images have to vacate the mind. Vacation. It happens. Mental images are thought forms. They are the elements or the building blocks of our thinking process. They cease to get formed in our mind when the causes of our thinking get extinct. We think of things that we like, we think of things that we dislike, we think of things that we are unaware or ignorant of. Liking is based on attachment called raga in Pali. Disliking is based on resentment called dosa in Pali. Unawareness is based on ignorance called moha in Pali. There are three aspects of a lay mind, unenlightened mind. Enlightened mind, according to Buddha, is a mind free of attachment, resentment, and ignorance. Ignorance means darkness, not knowing. Darkness. Metaphorically, ignorance is referred to as darkness. And wisdom that appears or that dispels ignorance, the darkness of ignorance is called light, metaphorically. Therefore, enlightenment means the dawn of light, referred to by the Buddha in his first sermon as Aloka Udapada. Aloka means light. Udapada means the birth, the dawn of light. Dawn of light, metaphorically, means the disappearance of ignorance. What is ignorance? The ignorance of the reality of our mental forms, our thought forms. What is the reality? They are empty. They look real, but they are actually not real. Once you realize that, realize means you know it through your own experience. You do not get attached to those illusory mental images, nor do you resent them, nor do you ignore them. That means you become aware or conscious of all sensory signals, but you do not think of those signals. That means you are not interested. There is no attachment, no resentment. And therefore, enlightened ones are called free of attachment, resentment, and ignorance. In Pali, free of attachment with ragi, free of resentment means with dosi, free of ignorance means with mohi. And that is a state of mind without any aim, without any target. All desires are aims or targets. We desire something means we make the object of our desire our target, our aim. Therefore, aimless mind means a mind free of targets or the mind free of desires. And that state of mind can be realized gradually, reducing our desires little by little, step by step, moment to moment. That is possible by accepting things as they are. That is the Buddhist meditation of awareness, referred to in English as mindfulness and referred to in Pali as Satipatthana. Being aware. Aware means sensing but not thinking of sensing. Awareness is there, but you neither like nor dislike. That means you do not think of them. You become sensitive, and there is sense awareness because you are alive. It is not you who is aware, but your sense organs become aware. But your mind, what you call you is your mind. Mind does not think of them. That means mind neither like nor dislike what it becomes aware of. And that is the technique of enlightenment, to achieve the state of aimlessness, the desirelessness, the vacant mind, the empty mind called nirvana. And capacity for that is there in you, and it can be achieved through the observation of your mind, means observation of your mental forms. When you observe them, you realize they are getting form to decay and die instantly. No thought forms can last long. They are generated by the mind for degeneration. When you realize that all mental images are impermanent, you neither resent or get attached to them. And that is the step to nirvana. Resent means you have an aim to get rid of. Attachment means you have an aim to keep it even in the future or to achieve in the future. Aimless mind is a mind free from the future. Future is a projection of our past, dead past. Future is unborn. We have aims based on our past experiences retained in our mind. Nirvana is neither in the past nor in the future, but in the present moment. That is why it is said, ehipassiko, it can be seen here. Sanditthiko means it can be seen now. Nirvana is here and now. All aims are projections of the past into the future. Nirvana is a state of mind free from projection, free from aims, free from targets.